if an interstellar object whirling through our solar system is actually a nuclear-powered spacecraft sent by aliens to test how humans respond? That's what a noted astrophysicist believes might be the case.
An object is currently hurtling through our solar system that should not exist. It is an interstellar comet, designated 3I Atlas, only the third confirmed visitor from beyond our sun's grasp ever detected by humanity. But unlike its predecessors, this cosmic intruder is behaving in a way that defies the known laws of physics, displaying a series of profound anomalies that have left astronomers and astrophysicists around the world deeply and genuinely alarmed. Racing through our planetary neighborhood at an unprecedented 130,000 miles per hour, this ancient wanderer is doing things no natural comet should. Its tail, a feature that should be a simple and predictable indicator of the sun's power, is pointing in the wrong direction. Its path through our system seems almost intentionally calculated, bringing it suspiciously close to key planets in a way that mimics our own deep space probes. And that is only the beginning of the mystery. There is the official story, the one being told in press releases and public statements. A story of a fascinating, but ultimately natural celestial object. But behind the scenes, a different narrative is taking shape. Insiders within the global astronomical community have quietly begun to circulate unreleased, high-resolution observations from both the Hubble Space Telescope and the new Vera Rubin Observatory in Chile. These images and data points, not yet cleared for public release, reveal details so unusual, so difficult to explain, that a quiet, urgent buzz of concern is spreading through private servers and academic forums. The fear surrounding 3I Atlas is not about an impact. It is about what this object is and what it represents. We are now going to break down the evidence, the anomalies that are being discussed behind closed doors, the pieces of a puzzle that suggest this visitor may not be what it seems. The first and most flagrant violation of physics is the object's tail. The mechanics of a comet's tail are simple and have been understood for centuries. The sun's radiation pressure and the solar wind act like a constant, powerful fan, pushing gas and dust particles directly away from the sun. This is why a comet's tail, no matter where the comet is in its orbit, always points away from our star. But 3I Atlas is different. High-resolution images clearly show a significant, well-defined dust tail that is pointing impossibly back along its own trajectory, towards the sun. This is a physical contradiction of the highest order. Scientists have scrambled to find a natural explanation. Could the dust particles be so massive that the sun's radiation cannot move them? If so, the object would have to be made of an unknown hyperdense material. Could there be some strange electromagnetic effect, where the dust is being pulled by the sun's magnetic field? If so, the particles would have to be almost pure, magnetic iron, a composition never before seen in a comet. Every natural explanation that has been proposed is more exotic and unsettling than the last. Compounding this mystery is the object's sheer record-breaking speed. When Oumuamua, the first interstellar visitor, was detected, its velocity of 16 miles per second was considered extraordinary. The second visitor, 2I Borisov, was even faster. But 3I Atlas is traveling at an astonishing 36 miles every single second, almost twice as fast as its fastest predecessor. This is a speed so immense it suggests an origin of almost unimaginable violence. To accelerate an object of this size to such a velocity requires an energy release on a catastrophic scale, perhaps being flung from a binary star system or being ejected during the supernova explosion of its parent star. But this extreme velocity also presents another, more subtle anomaly. Spectroscopic analysis of the object shows that its surface is not heavily scarred or altered by the billions of years of cosmic ray exposure. It should have endured during a long interstellar journey. Its composition seems almost pristine, a paradox that has left scientists struggling for an explanation. How can an object appear both ancient and young at the very same time? And then there is the object's path. While its trajectory poses no threat to Earth, its course through our solar system is raising eyebrows for an entirely different reason. The path seems almost too perfect, too efficient, too intelligent. It is a trajectory that brings it unusually close to three key planets during its single pass through our system: Mars, Jupiter, and Venus. This is the exact kind of gravity assist tour that NASA engineers spend years designing for our own deep space probes, using the gravitational pull of planets to shape a probe's course and speed it on its way. For a random object hurtling in from the interstellar void to happen to follow a path that provides close-up views of three of the most interesting planets in our system is a coincidence of almost unbelievable proportions. It is a path that seems perfectly designed for reconnaissance, a grand tour of our solar system, executed with a precision that seems, to some, deeply and unnervingly deliberate. The impossible tail, the record-breaking speed, and the seemingly calculated path have all left scientists scrambling for answers, each new piece of data only deepening the mystery. But the most unsettling feature of this cosmic intruder may be its timing. The object is on a course that will take it directly behind the sun, at the precise moment it reaches its brightest and most active phase, a period known as perihelion, just when our most powerful telescopes, like the James Webb Space Telescope, would have their best ever opportunity to study its secrets in unprecedented detail. It will conveniently disappear from our view, hidden in the glare of our own star. Is this a cosmic coincidence of incredible proportions? Or is it the deliberate act of an object, or something controlling it, that does not wish to be too closely observed? The question of what this object might be hiding will only deepen as we prepare to explore the very substance it is made of, a substance that is proving to be as anomalous as its behavior. The established facts about 3I Atlas are alarming enough. An object of immense size traveling at a record-breaking speed with a dust tail that points impossibly towards the sun. But it is the object's path through our solar system, its specific, calculated trajectory, that has begun to elevate the concern among astronomers from simple scientific curiosity to a state of genuine, quiet dread. This is where the mystery deepens, moving from a question of strange physics to a question of statistical impossibility. After entering our system from high above the planetary plane, this interstellar visitor is not on a random, chaotic course. It is following a path that brings it remarkably and successively close to multiple key planets in our solar system, a sequence of encounters that seems too perfect to be a coincidence. In early October of 2025, according to the most precise orbital calculations, 3I Atlas will pass within just 30 million kilometers of the planet Mars. This is an extraordinarily close approach in cosmic terms. Close enough that NASA's fleet of orbiters and rovers on the Martian surface might even be able to capture unprecedented, close-range images of this interstellar object as it flies by. Shortly after, its trajectory will see it swing past the orbit of Venus at a distance of about 0.7 astronomical units, still remarkably close. Then in 2026, its path takes it into the neighborhood of Jupiter, bringing it within 0.3 astronomical units of the colossal gas giant. This specific sequence, a flyby of Mars, then Venus, then Jupiter, is so statistically unlikely for a random interstellar object that it has raised serious questions. Harvard astronomer Avi Loeb and his colleagues have run the numbers, and their analysis states that the statistical probability of such a series of planetary encounters, if 3I Atlas were on a random inbound trajectory, is extremely low. What makes this improbable trajectory even more intriguing, and to some deeply suspicious, is how similar it looks to something that NASA itself would design. When mission planners at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory plot the course for our own deep space probes, like the legendary Voyager Grand Tour of the Outer Planets, they precisely calculate paths that use the gravity of multiple planets to slingshot the spacecraft efficiently through the solar system. From a purely strategic and engineering perspective, if an intelligence wanted to deploy a series of small observational probes across multiple planets in our solar system with maximum efficiency, this exact trajectory would be an ideal choice. A primary craft following this path could, in theory, release smaller monitoring packages near Mars, then Venus, and then Jupiter, all without needing to significantly alter its own course or expend precious fuel. We are not just watching an inert comet fly by. We are watching an object that is threading a cosmic needle, hitting a series of gravitational and observational alignments that we almost never see occur naturally. The timing of these planetary encounters is just as suspicious as the path itself, and the question of who or what else might be tracking this object besides civilian astronomers is one that is being quietly asked in different, more secretive circles. The United States Space Command operates a vast and sophisticated global network dedicated to monitoring every object that moves through our solar system. Their Space Situational Awareness program uses powerful radar arrays, like the Space Fence system, which can track even very small objects with incredible precision. Yet, despite 3I Atlas being potentially the largest and fastest interstellar object ever detected, there has been a profound and noticeable silence from these military and defense organizations. This silence is particularly strange, given that their tracking capabilities could provide invaluable scientific data to the public astronomical community. One possibility for this silence is that agencies like the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO, and the various planetary defense groups are using 3I Atlas as an unprecedented opportunity to run a real-world live-fire drill. This visitor presents a perfect test case for how our global defenses might respond to a genuine and potentially hostile interstellar threat. It is massive, it is moving extraordinarily fast, and it is following an unusual and highly precise trajectory. From a national security and planetary defense perspective, this is the ideal chance to silently test detection systems, tracking protocols, and international communication frameworks without causing public alarm or revealing the full extent of their capabilities. The strategic implications of an object that can move through our planetary system with such apparent precision cannot be overlooked. If you are in charge of planetary defense, this is your ultimate nightmare training exercise. A fast, massive, and unpredictable object arriving from deep space, with absolutely no way to intercept it in time. The first and most important question you would need to answer is it natural? Or is it something you have to worry about? And that leads to the most concerning part of the entire situation. Even if we wanted to intercept 3I Atlas, to send a probe to study it up close and determine its true nature, we simply cannot. Its extreme velocity makes it completely impossible to catch with any rocket or spacecraft that we currently possess or could even hope to build in time. By the time we could design, build, and launch a mission, this visitor will be long gone, having completed its tour of our inner solar system, and vanished back into the interstellar void. We are in the position of being able to do nothing but watch. We are helpless spectators to the passage of the strangest and most alarming object that has ever entered our home. And it is this very helplessness, this inability to act, that is compounding the fear among those who are watching it most closely. The profound anomalies in the trajectory of 3I Atlas present a puzzle of celestial mechanics so improbable that it borders on the impossible. a path that seems intelligently designed for a grand tour of our solar system, and a speed that suggests an origin of unimaginable violence, are enough on their own to create a deep and lasting sense of scientific unease. But while the object's path tells us a story of its journey, it is the object's substance, its very physical nature, that has transformed this unease into a quiet, creeping dread. The fear among scientists is not just rooted in the object's strange behavior, but in the growing, chilling suspicion that this visitor may not be a natural object at all. To understand this fear, we must move beyond the mathematics of its orbit and into the realm of forensic astronomy, a deep and detailed investigation into the physical evidence being shed by the object itself as it hurtles through our system. The first crucial pieces of this forensic puzzle came not from the initial discovery, but from a stroke of incredible scientific luck. In the months before 3I Atlas was officially identified and announced to the world, the new Vera C. Rubin Observatory in Chile was undergoing its final engineering tests. As its powerful, wide-field camera was being calibrated, it accidentally captured a series of deep images of the exact patch of sky through which the object was silently moving. When researchers alerted to the object's existence, combed back through these archived test images, they found a treasure trove. A series of pre-covery images that showed the interstellar visitor before anyone knew it was there. These early frames revealed something that immediately caught the attention of every cometary scientist on the planet. The strange, sunward-facing dust tail, the feature that defies the normal laws of physics, was already present even when the object was much farther from the sun and solar heating was minimal. This was the first piece of hard physical evidence that 3I Atlas was not a normal comet. The mystery deepened profoundly when the world's great spectrographs were turned upon the object. A spectrograph is an instrument that breaks down the faint light from a distant object into its constituent colors, its chemical fingerprint. When a normal comet approaches the sun, its ice sublimates, turning directly into a gas. This gas is then ionized by solar radiation and begins to glow, producing clear, bright emission lines in a spectrum that tells scientists exactly what it's made of: water vapor, carbon monoxide, cyanide, and other volatile gases. When astronomers took the first spectra of 3I Atlas, they expected to see these familiar signatures. Instead, they saw almost nothing. There were no detectable gas emissions at all. And yet the object was clearly active, shedding a significant and visible coma and tail of dust. This is a profound contradiction. In a comet, the escaping gas is the engine that drives the dust into space. The gas is the cause, and the dust is the effect. 3I Atlas presented the impossible image of an effect without a cause, a ghost that was shedding dust without the breath of gas to propel it. This silent dust anomaly is one of the primary reasons for the growing fear. What physical force could be ejecting trillions of dust particles from the surface of a miles-wide object with enough velocity to form a tail, if not the violent eruption of sublimating gas? The natural explanations are few, and all of them are deeply strange. Perhaps the object has an unusual electrostatic property that is levitating the dust off its surface. Perhaps its incredibly fast rotation is flinging material from its equator. Or perhaps, and this is the most unsettling possibility, the dust is not being ejected by a natural process at all. This has led to an unprecedented, all-hands-on-deck, multi-wavelength campaign to study the visitor, a global effort to throw the entirety of humanity's astronomical might at this one fleeting object before it disappears forever. The James Webb Space Telescope has been tasked with staring at the object in the infrared, searching for the faintest possible heat signatures of gases that other telescopes might have missed, and looking for the chemical fingerprints of exotic, complex molecules that might be trapped in the dust. The Hubble Space Telescope is providing the sharpest possible high-resolution images in visible and ultraviolet light, allowing scientists to study the fine structure of the dust tail and to look for any changes in the object's shape or brightness. NASA's TESS satellite, an instrument normally used for hunting exoplanets, has been repurposed to stare at the object for weeks at a time, creating an incredibly detailed light curve to measure its rotation and to watch for any sudden, unexpected outbursts. And on the ground, the world's largest telescopes are using a technique called polarimetry, studying how the light waves are oriented after reflecting off the object's dust. This can reveal the texture, shape, and composition of the individual dust grains. Is the dust made of fluffy, porous particles like those from a normal comet? Or is it made of something more solid, more uniform, perhaps even something metallic? Each new piece of data from this global campaign seems only to deepen the mystery rather than solve it. The object is a perfect enigma, a cosmic Rorschach test onto which scientists are projecting their most daring and most fearful theories. The lack of gas is a profound puzzle that makes the object seem less and less like a natural comet, and more like something else entirely. It is a ghost, an object that looks like a comet and is in the location of a comet, but which is not behaving like a comet. This leaves us with a terrifying and unavoidable question that is now being whispered in the halls of astronomical institutions around the world. If 3I Atlas is not a comet, then what exactly is it? The next clue in this incredible investigation would come not from what the object is doing now, but from what it is made of on a fundamental atomic level. The analysis of the water ice within its dust, if it could be definitively measured, would reveal a chemical fingerprint, a cosmic birth certificate, that could prove its origin in a time and place in our galaxy that scientists had long considered ancient, exotic, and perhaps even impossible for an object like this to come from. The forensic investigation into the physical nature of 3I Atlas has revealed a ghost. It is an object that wears the mask of a comet, producing a vast visible coma and tail of dust. Yet it lacks the very engine that should power such a display. The profound and unsettling absence of any detectable gas emissions has left scientists with a contradiction that strikes at the heart of our understanding of these celestial wanderers. This leaves us with a terrifying question that has no easy answer. If it is not a comet, then what exactly is it? The next clue in this incredible investigation would come not from what the object is doing now, as it passes through our system, but from what it is fundamentally made of on an atomic level. The faint light reflected from its dust carries a hidden message, a chemical fingerprint that can be decoded to reveal its age and its birthplace. And the analysis of this fingerprint would reveal a cosmic birth certificate, proving an origin in a time and place in our galaxy that scientists had long considered ancient, exotic, and utterly impossible for an object like this to have come from. To unlock these secrets, astronomers turn to one of the most powerful tools in their arsenal, a technique known as isotopic analysis. This is a form of cosmic archaeology. The basic elements of the universe, like hydrogen, can come in different flavors or isotopes, which contain a different number of neutrons in their atomic nucleus. For hydrogen, its heavy isotope is called deuterium. The ratio of deuterium to normal hydrogen, or the D to H ratio, is not the same everywhere in the universe. It is a powerful chemical fingerprint that varies depending on the temperature, pressure, and radiation environment of the specific location in the cosmos where an object formed. When astronomers analyzed the faint traces of water ice being shed in the dust from 3I Atlas, they were able to measure its D to H ratio. The result sent another shockwave through the scientific community. The water in 3I Atlas was profoundly alien. Its isotopic signature was completely different from the ratio found in any comet, asteroid, or ocean within our own solar system. This was the first piece of hard chemical proof that this object was not just from another star, but from a different kind of star system, one that formed in a completely different environment than our own. This strange chemical fingerprint, combined with a detailed analysis of the object's trajectory and its low concentration of heavy elements, or metals, pointed to a specific and deeply mysterious origin. 3I Atlas, the data strongly suggested, was not born in the bright, busy, and relatively young part of the galaxy where our own sun resides, the region known as the thin disk. Instead, it appears to have come from the thick disk, a vast, ancient, and diffuse halo of stars that surrounds the main galactic plane. The thick disk is a stellar graveyard populated by some of the oldest stars in the entire Milky Way, ancient, slow-burning suns that were formed 7, 8, or even 10 billion years ago, when the galaxy itself was still young. These are metal-poor stars, formed from the primordial hydrogen and helium of the early universe, before countless generations of supernovae had enriched the galaxy with the heavier elements needed to form rocky planets like Earth. The thick disk is a quiet, ancient, and almost forgotten realm, a place of profound stillness, and the last place astronomers would have expected such a dynamic and energetic object to originate from. This origin in the galaxy's ancient stellar halo has a staggering and almost unbelievable implication for the nature of 3SAS/. It means that the object itself is ancient, while our own sun and solar system are a comfortable 4.5 billion years old. The stars of the thick disk are much, much older. Based on its composition and its likely origin, astronomers have calculated that the ice now sublimating in the dust from 3SAS/ is likely at least 7 billion years old. It is a fact so profound it is difficult to fully comprehend. This object, this visitor to our home, likely formed more than 2 billion years before the Earth even existed. It was already a fully formed, city-sized comet when our own solar system was nothing more than a cold, dark, and undifferentiated cloud of gas and dust. It has witnessed a third of the entire history of the universe. It has journeyed for untold millions or perhaps billions of years through the interstellar void, a silent, frozen witness to the rise and fall of countless stars. It is not just an object from another place. It is an object from another time. The realization of the object's incredible age is the source of a new, deeper, and more existential form of fear. The fear is not just of an alien object, but of an impossibly ancient one. It is a relic from a version of our galaxy that is completely alien to us, a messenger from a time that should have been long dead and forgotten. Its arrival is like a perfectly preserved 7 billion year old fossil suddenly and impossibly appearing in our backyard. It raises a host of profound and unsettling questions. What was our galaxy like in that primordial era? Could life have formed in such ancient metal-poor star systems? The chemistry would be entirely different. If intelligence did arise in that ancient epoch, it would be billions of years more advanced than we are, a civilization of true cosmic elders. The object is no longer just a strange comet. It has been transformed in our understanding into a ghost from the dawn of the galaxy, a tangible piece of the deep past, an artifact that has somehow, against all odds, survived to visit our young upstart solar system. The ancient, chemical, and isotopic analysis of 3I Atlas has painted the portrait of an impossible artifact, a 7 billion year old messenger from the galactic dawn, a relic that challenges our models of galactic evolution, carrying water that is older than our world. This ancient heritage might explain what it is, a piece of the primordial galaxy, but it only deepens the mystery of how it is behaving. Why does this ancient ghost have a tail that points impossibly towards the sun? Why is it shedding a shroud of dust with no detectable breath of gas to propel it? And why is it on a trajectory through our solar system that seems so chillingly and mathematically precise? The fear now shifts from the object's ancient, mysterious past to its active and inexplicable present. We are not just dealing with a simple primordial comet. We may be dealing with something far more complex, something that has endured for 7 billion years for a reason, and its purpose for visiting our solar system after all this time remains the most terrifying unknown of all. The forensic analysis of 3I Atlas has painted the portrait of an impossible artifact. It is a 7 billion-year-old messenger from the galactic dawn, a relic that challenges our models of cosmic history, carrying water that is older than our own world. This ancient heritage might explain what it is, a piece of the primordial galaxy, but this fact only serves to deepen the profound mystery of how it is behaving. Why does this ancient ghost have a tail that points impossibly towards the sun? Why is it shedding a thick shroud of dust with no detectable breath of gas to propel it? And why is it on a trajectory through our solar system that seems so chillingly and mathematically precise? The fear now shifts from the object's ancient mysterious past to its active and inexplicable present. To find a potential answer, we must take a step across a threshold that mainstream science is deeply reluctant to cross. We must, for a moment, abandon the assumption that this object is natural, and seriously, rigorously, consider the alternative. We must explore the possibility that 3I Atlas is an artifact, an object that has been deliberately and intelligently engineered. When we re-examine the profound anomalies of this visitor through an artificial lens, they suddenly transform from baffling contradictions into potentially logical features. The sunward pointing dust tail, a flagrant violation of cometary physics, is no longer a problem. It is a clue. If the object is a machine, the dust is not a natural byproduct of melting ice. It could be a form of exhaust from an unknown low-temperature propulsion system. Or perhaps it is a deliberate release of material, a cloud of nanoprobes or smart dust being deployed into the inner solar system for reconnaissance, using the sun's own light and solar wind as a medium for dispersal. The impossible speed is no longer just the signature of a violent birth, but perhaps the result of a powered journey that has lasted for eons. A controlled and efficient cruise through the interstellar medium, and the trajectory, the statistically impossible grand tour of our inner planets, is no longer a coincidence. It is a flight plan, a deliberate and efficient path designed to gather the maximum amount of data about our system, from Mars to Jupiter, in a single, efficient pass. The things that make 3I Atlas a terrible comet are the very same things that would make it an excellent interstellar probe. The most powerful piece of evidence for this unsettling hypothesis, the anomaly that is most difficult to explain away with any natural theory, is the complete and utter absence of gas. A natural comet is, at its heart, a dirty snowball. Its activity, its coma, its beautiful tail are all the result of its ices turning into gas under the heat of a star. The gas is the engine. The dust is just a passenger carried along for the ride. But 3I Atlas is shedding vast quantities of dust, with no detectable gas to drive it. This is akin to seeing the smoke from a massive fire, but with no heat and no flame. It is an effect without a cause. If the object is an artificial probe, however, this makes perfect sense. A machine designed for a multi-million-year journey through the interstellar void would not be built from fragile, volatile water ice. It would be constructed from durable, stable materials, metals, ceramics, carbon composites. It would have no reason to be outgassing like a comet. The dust it is releasing, therefore, is not a natural part of its composition. It is something it is actively and deliberately choosing to release. This single fact, the silent shedding of dust, is the most profound and compelling hint that we may not be dealing with a simple rock, but with a complex and active machine. This hypothesis is, of course, met with the profound and necessary silence of the object itself. There are no radio signals. There is no obvious, unambiguous beacon that announces its artificial nature. And this silence is often used as the primary argument against it being an artifact. But this argument is born from a deep and perhaps fatal form of anthropocentrism. We, a civilization that has only been using radio for just over a century, assume that any other intelligence, especially one that may be billions of years older than us, would use the same primitive and inefficient method of communication. An intelligence that is capable of building a 7 billion-year-old probe and sending it across the galaxy would have likely moved far beyond such a noisy and slow technology. Their communication might be in the form of modulated neutrinos, of focused gravitational waves, or through some application of quantum entanglement that is, to our current science, indistinguishable from magic. The silence of 3I Atlas is not evidence of a natural origin. It may in fact be evidence of a technological gap so immense, so absolute, that we are like an uncontacted tribe on a remote island, completely unaware of the constant, silent stream of global satellite communications happening high in the sky above our heads. Their silence is not an absence. It is a measure of their advancement. If we allow ourselves to accept the terrifying possibility that 3I Atlas is an artificial probe, we are then confronted with the final and most important question: what is its mission? Why is it here? The possibilities are as vast as they are unsettling. Perhaps it is a simple, automated survey probe, one of billions sent out by an ancient and profoundly patient civilization to methodically map the galaxy. And its visit to our solar system is of no special significance to its creators. It is just ticking another box on a list of 100 billion stars. Or perhaps it is a more sophisticated Bracewell probe, a messenger designed specifically to find and make contact with emerging intelligent life. In this case, its strange, silent maneuvers might be part of a deliberate protocol, a test to see how our fledgling civilization reacts to its presence, a cosmic test of our maturity. Or, more darkly, it could be a von Neumann probe, a self-replicating machine, looking not for life, but for the raw materials it needs to build copies of itself, a kind of galactic virus. And then there is the most melancholy, and perhaps the most poetic possibility of all, that the object is a derelict, a dead machine, its creators long since extinct, a ghost ship from a lost ancient empire, still faithfully executing its final, pre-programmed course through a universe that has long since forgotten it ever existed. The possibility that 3I Atlas is an artifact, a 7 billion-year-old machine from a lost civilization, transforms it from a simple scientific curiosity into a subject of profound and existential dread. We are faced with a silent, ancient, and impossibly advanced visitor whose purpose is a complete and terrifying unknown. Every theory, from a peaceful explorer to a dead ghost ship, to something far more sinister, is pure, unadulterated speculation. But this object has one more move to make. One final, baffling action that deepens the mystery beyond all reason and seems to hint at a kind of deliberate coyness. As it reaches the heart of our solar system, at the very peak of its brightness and our ability to observe it, it is on a course to do something that seems, by all accounts, intentional. It is preparing to hide. The unsettling possibility that 3I Atlas is an artifact, a 7 billion-year-old machine from a lost and unknown civilization, transforms it from a simple scientific curiosity into a subject of profound and existential dread. We are faced with the silent, ancient, and impossibly advanced visitor whose purpose for entering our home is a complete and terrifying unknown. Every theory, from a peaceful automated explorer to a derelict ghost ship to something far more sinister, is pure, unadulterated speculation, a projection of our own hopes and fears onto a canvas of perfect cosmic mystery. But this object has one more move to make, one final baffling action that deepens the mystery beyond all reason and seems to hint at a kind of deliberate, almost intelligent coyness. As it reaches the very heart of our solar system, at the absolute peak of its brightness and our ability to observe it. This interstellar intruder is on a course to do something that seems, by all accounts, intentional. It is preparing to hide. This act of concealment is not a speculative theory. It is a simple, unavoidable, and deeply frustrating fact of orbital mechanics. The object's calculated trajectory will carry it to its closest point to our Sun, a moment known as perihelion, in the late autumn of 2025. This is the moment of maximum revelation. The intense solar heating at this proximity should cause the object to become more active than at any other point in its journey, violently releasing any trapped gases and shedding vast new clouds of its primordial dust. It is the moment when its deepest, most ancient, and most secret interior materials will be excavated by the sun's fire and blasted into space for our telescopes to analyze. It is our single greatest opportunity to solve the mystery of what it is truly made of. But at that exact moment, the object will be in a state of perfect solar conjunction. From our vantage point on Earth, it will be positioned directly on the far side of the Sun. Its moment of greatest revelation will be perfectly and completely masked by the overwhelming, blinding glare of our own star. Every Earth-based telescope, and even our great observatories in orbit like Hubble and the James Webb Space Telescope, will be completely unable to see it. This timing has raised more than a few eyebrows in the astronomical community. While the universe is full of coincidences, the sheer perfection of this timing is to some deeply suspicious. If a natural random object were to pass through our solar system, the odds of its perihelion passage, its moment of peak activity, occurring in the one small window of time where it is completely unobservable from Earth, are astronomically low. It is a coincidence of almost unbelievable proportions. This has led some of the more daring and speculative thinkers, like Harvard's Avi Loeb, to note that if an object wanted to hide its true nature, this is the most elegant and effective way to do it. The perihelion passage is the moment of greatest vulnerability. For a natural comet, this is when the heat can cause it to fragment and break apart, revealing its internal structure. For a potential artificial object, this might be a moment where it needs to perform critical functions that it would not want a primitive, emerging civilization like ours to observe. Perhaps it needs to vent waste heat from an internal reactor. Perhaps it needs to perform a crucial course correction, or deploy a smaller probe. Or perhaps the intense solar radiation is used to recharge its power systems after a long dormant journey. To perform any of these actions while hidden behind the sun would be the perfect strategic maneuver. But humanity is no longer a species confined to a single point of view. While our eyes on and around the Earth will be blinded, we have sent robotic emissaries, our own probes across the solar system, and this has created a desperate interplanetary effort to get a single, crucial glimpse of the object during its hidden passage. Mission planners at NASA and the European Space Agency are now in a frantic race against time to see if any of our active spacecraft can be repositioned to get a different line of sight. On Mars, our fleet of orbiters like the MAVEN probe might, if their own orbits align correctly, have a viewing angle that is not obscured by the sun. The Perseverance and Curiosity rovers on the surface could be commanded to turn their cameras to the daytime sky, in the faint hope of capturing a stray glint of light. Farther out, in the court of the gas giants, the Juno probe, in its long looping orbit around Jupiter, may have the clearest view of all. And the probes designed to study the Sun itself, like the Parker Solar Probe and the Solar Orbiter, may inadvertently capture the most valuable data of all, as the object passes directly through their field of view, allowing them to taste the particles of its dust tail directly with their in situ instrument. This is a cosmic detective story, the solar system-wide scramble to catch a single, fleeting glimpse of a mysterious object as it performs its most secret and revealing act behind a celestial curtain. And so the entire scientific world holds its breath, waiting to see what will emerge from the far side of the sun in the winter of 2025. The object will be hidden from our direct view for several weeks, a period of profound and total blindness. The anticipation of what we will see when it re-emerges is a source of intense debate and speculation, as every possible outcome carries its own profound and world-changing implications. It could emerge as a shattered remnant, having been disintegrated by the sun's intense heat and gravity, much like the interstellar comet 2I Borisov. Such a breakup would provide a treasure trove of data about its internal structure, and would strongly suggest it was, after all, a natural, if somewhat strange, comet. Or it could emerge having experienced a massive outburst of activity, its coma and tail now blazing with the bright spectral lines of previously undetected gases. This would also support the natural comet hypothesis, suggesting that its earlier lack of gas was simply a temporary surface effect. But then there is the third and most chilling possibility. What if it emerges completely and utterly unchanged for a city-sized object made of ice and dust to survive a perihelion passage this close to the sun without any significant fragmentation or massive new outgassing? Would suggest it is not made of ice at all. It would suggest it is made of something far more robust, far more durable, and far more resistant to heat and stress. Something that is not natural, something that has been engineered. The silence during this period of solar conjunction is a new and unique kind of terror. It is a fear of the unseen, the unknown, and the unknowable. For several weeks, the most mysterious and potentially significant object ever to enter our solar system will be a complete and total enigma, a ghost in the glare of our own sun. We will be blind, waiting and wondering what is happening on the far side of our star. The fear is not just about what 3I Atlas is, but what it might become. When it sails, silently, out of the solar glare in the final months of 2025, will it be a shattered, natural remnant, a triumphant and surprisingly resilient comet, or will it be something else entirely? A silent, ancient machine that has successfully used our own star as a shield to hide its true purpose from our prying eyes. This physical hiding of the object mirrors a deeper, more profound question, a mystery that has haunted us for as long as we have looked at the stars. What if the reason we have never found definitive, unambiguous evidence of alien intelligence is not because of simple distance or because we are alone? What if the reason for the Great Silence is because of a deliberate and far more ancient policy of hiding? The calculated and convenient disappearance of 3I Atlas behind the sun at the very moment of its peak activity serves as a powerful and chilling metaphor for a much larger and more profound mystery, the mystery of the Great Silence. For over half a century, our radio telescopes have been listening to the cosmos, and we have heard nothing. This silence is the central paradox of our existence. In a galaxy of 400 billion stars and potentially trillions of planets, a galaxy that is billions of years older than our own Earth, the laws of probability suggest that the sky should be teeming with the signals of intelligent civilizations. The galaxy should be a noisy, bustling, and crowded metropolis of life. Yet what we observe is a silent, empty, and seemingly pristine wilderness. The physical hiding of this one strange object behind its star mirrors the great cosmic hiding of everyone else, and it forces us to confront a deeply unsettling question. What if the reason we have never found definitive, unambiguous evidence of alien intelligence is not because of simple distance or because we are tragically alone? What if the reason for the Great Silence is because of a deliberate and far more ancient policy of hiding? This is the core of the zoo hypothesis, an elegant and deeply unnerving potential solution to the Fermi paradox. First proposed in a serious scientific context by the astronomer John Ball in 1973, the theory posits that the galaxy is, in fact, teeming with advanced, intelligent extraterrestrial societies, and that many, if not all of them, are perfectly and completely aware of our existence on this small blue world. The reason we have never been contacted, the reason the sky is so profoundly quiet, is not because no one is out there to speak to. It is because they have all mutually agreed, as part of a universal treaty or a shared ethical framework, to not interfere with us. In this scenario, Earth is a protected nature preserve, a cosmic zoo. Our messy, violent, and beautiful process of biological and social evolution is being silently and patiently observed, perhaps as a subject of scientific study, or perhaps for the same reason we protect endangered wilderness areas on Earth. The advanced civilizations, the zookeepers, understand that direct contact with their overwhelmingly superior technology and culture would be catastrophic for a primitive species like our own. It would instantly destroy our culture, our religions, our science, and our sense of self. And so they watch, they listen, and they remain hidden, enforcing a strict, galaxy-wide policy of non-intervention. The horror of this idea is a subtle and deeply psychological one. It is the horror of being an exhibit, the chilling feeling that our entire civilization's history, with all of its triumphs and tragedies, our art, our wars, our love, our suffering, is not entirely our own, but is instead a form of entertainment or a scientific experiment for an unseen, silent, and unimaginably superior audience. Our reality is not fully our own. We are a protected, and perhaps deeply pitied, primitive tribe living out our lives in a small, isolated cosmic valley. While the silent, invisible builders of star-spanning empires watch us from the mountaintops and wait, a slight, but perhaps even more sinister, variation on this theme is the laboratory hypothesis. This idea suggests that we are not just being passively observed for our own protection. It suggests that we are an active and deliberate experiment. In this scenario, our solar system, or perhaps just the planet Earth itself, was deliberately set up, or seeded, by a progenitor race billions of years ago, to see how life and perhaps intelligence would evolve under this specific set of environmental conditions. This progenitor race may be long dead, or it may still be watching its experiment unfold from a safe and undetectable distance. The Great Silence in this case is the necessary silence of a well-run laboratory, a biologist studying the behavior of bacteria in a petri dish does not reach in and tap on the bacteria to let them know they are being watched, as this would contaminate the experiment. In the same way, our alien creators or observers remain silent in order to ensure that our evolution proceeds naturally, without any external influence. This adds a layer of cosmic horror to our existence. The idea that our sense of free will, our history, and our very biological makeup are not the results of a random natural process, but are instead the carefully monitored data points in a long-running experiment, designed to answer a question that we cannot even begin to comprehend. We are not just animals in a zoo, we are subjects in a trial. This idea of a silent, cosmic watch is given a more technological and perhaps more plausible form in the Sentinel hypothesis. This theory suggests that we may not be under the direct conscious observation of living biological aliens at all. Instead, it posits that an ancient, long-vanished civilization may have sent out billions of small, autonomous, and artificially intelligent probes to explore the galaxy and to watch for the emergence of life. These Sentinel or Bracewell probes would be the true zookeepers. They might lie dormant for millions or even billions of years, hidden in plain sight in the asteroid belts or the cold, dark Kuiper belts of countless star systems. Silently waiting. When a species on a nearby planet like our own begins to show the first signs of technological intelligence, such as the emission of radio waves, these dormant probes might activate. Their mission would not be to make contact, but simply to observe, to gather data, and perhaps to report back to a home that no longer exists. In this context, the strange behavior of an object like 3I Atlas takes on a new and even more chilling meaning. Its impossible speed and its calculated path might be the signature not of a natural comet, but of an ancient, automated, AI-powered probe, a 7 billion-year-old machine, carrying out a pre-programmed survey mission of our solar system. It silenced the cold, indifferent silence of a machine simply executing its ancient orders. But there is another, far darker, and perhaps far more likely, explanation for the Great Silence. This is the concept of the Great Filter. Proposed by the economist Robin Hanson, this theory suggests that there is some evolutionary or technological hurdle on the path from simple life to a galaxy-spanning civilization that is so difficult to overcome that it is, in effect, a wall, a filter that almost no species can pass. The profound and terrifying question is, where on the timeline of life does this great filter lie? One possibility is that the filter is behind us. Perhaps the initial leap from non-living chemistry to the first living cell is so statistically improbable that it has only happened once, here on Earth. Or perhaps the evolution of complex multicellular life, or human-level intelligence is the great barrier. If this is the case, then we are the first, and perhaps the only intelligent species in the galaxy. This does not imply a sense of triumph, but a feeling of profound and absolute loneliness. We are a cosmic anomaly, a freak accident, alone in a vast, sterile, and empty universe. The other possibility is far more horrifying. The Great Filter may lie ahead of us. In this scenario, life and even intelligence may be common throughout the cosmos. The universe may be filled with countless civilizations that have evolved on their own worlds, but they are all, without exception, doomed. They all inevitably reach a point where they discover a technology or face a challenge that leads to their own self-destruction before they can ever become a multiplanetary or interstellar species. The Great Silence, in this view, is the sound of a cosmic graveyard. The reason we do not hear from anyone else is because they are all dead. The filter could be the discovery of nuclear weapons, a technology that gives a young species the power to annihilate itself. It could be the unavoidable collapse of a planet's climate due to industrial activity. It could be the creation of an uncontrollable artificial intelligence, or a genetically engineered plague. If this is true, then the silence in the sky is a dire and urgent warning. It is the ghostly echo of the countless civilizations that have come before us, and which have all, without exception, failed the final test. The fact that we are here now with our own powerful and potentially self-destructive technologies means that we are, at this very moment, standing face to face with the Great Filter ourselves. Whether the silence of the cosmos is the respectful quiet of a cosmic zoo, the sterile observation of a laboratory, the indifferent hibernation of ancient machines, or the chilling, final silence of a galactic graveyard, these possibilities transform our search for aliens from a hopeful quest into a profound and deeply unsettling meditation on our own existence. Each theory forces us to confront our own potential insignificance, our own possible irrelevance, or our own impending doom. And now the object known as 3I Atlas, the impossible visitor, the 7 billion-year-old ghost, is about to emerge from its hiding place behind the sun. The period of waiting is over. We are about to receive the next piece of data, the next clue in this terrifying and escalating puzzle. Will its re-emergence from the solar glare support the simple theory of a natural, if bizarre, comet? Or will it behave in a way that pushes us further down the rabbit hole of these more frightening, more profound, and more existential explanations for why the universe is so disturbingly quiet? The collective and quiet dread of the global astronomical community is a unique and profound thing. It is not the loud, panicked fear of an imminent disaster. It is a slow, creeping, and deeply intellectual horror, born from the dawning realization that the universe does not operate according to the rules we have so carefully and confidently written for it. As the interstellar object 3I Atlas began its long, silent passage behind the sun, this sense of dread solidified into a period of intense and anxious anticipation. For several weeks, the object was completely gone from our view, a perfect enigma hidden behind a curtain of fire. During this period of solar conjunction, the world's great observatories prepared for its re-emergence. Observation schedules were cleared. Sophisticated computer models ran thousands of simulations predicting every possible outcome. Would it emerge as a shattered cloud of debris, a victim of the sun's immense gravitational and thermal power? Would it have a brilliant new tail of gas, finally revealing its true cometary nature? Or would it emerge completely unchanged, a silent testament to an impossible and unnatural durability? It was a global, scientific vigil, with the entire community holding its collective breath, waiting for the most mysterious object in human history to show its face once more. The first light arrived in the cold digital sensors of a telescope high in the Chilean Andes, a faint, almost imperceptible dot, emerging precisely on schedule from the sun's glare. The first wave to wash over the community was one of relief. It had survived. It had not disintegrated. But as more observatories locked onto the object and the data began to pour in, that initial relief was quickly replaced by a renewed and even deeper sense of bafflement. The object had indeed survived its fiery perihelion passage, but it was not unscathed. It was, in fact, visibly and dramatically different. The first shocking piece of new information came from its brightness. As a normal comet moves away from the sun, the solar heating decreases. Its ices begin to refreeze, its outgassing subsides, and it should therefore grow progressively fainter. 3I Atlas was doing the exact opposite. As it began its long journey out of the solar system and away from the sun, it started to grow brighter. Not just slightly brighter, but significantly and inexplicably brighter, a physical impossibility for any natural comet. This was not a delayed reaction, a heat wave propagating through its core. This was a sustained, controlled, and inexplicable increase in its luminosity, an act that seemed to defy the fundamental laws of thermodynamics. As the object grew brighter, the world's great spectrographs were once again turned upon it, and what they found only compounded the mystery to an almost unbearable degree. Before its passage behind the sun, the object's signature anomaly was its complete lack of detectable gas. Now, as it grew brighter, it was finally emitting a tenuous, ghostly cloud, but it was not the gas they expected. It was not the familiar, primordial signature of water vapor, carbon monoxide, or any of the simple volatile ices that make up a comet. The spectral analysis revealed the presence of heavy, complex, and extraordinarily rare noble gases, xenon and krypton. In the cosmic scheme of things, these elements are almost unbelievably scarce, forged only in the unimaginable violence of supernova explosions or the slow, patient decay of radioactive elements. For a natural comet, a simple, dirty snowball from the interstellar void, To be actively venting large quantities of pure, refined, noble gases is not just strange, it is a scientific impossibility. These are not the gases of life or nature. On Earth, they are the signatures of advanced, high-energy industrial and nuclear processes. The presence of xenon, in particular, is a hallmark of sophisticated ion propulsion systems. The object was not just outgassing, it was potentially revealing the nature of its own internal and perhaps artificial power source. The increased brightness, a result of this new strange cloud of gas and dust, had another, even more profound consequence. It allowed the great space telescopes, Hubble and Webb, to get a clearer, less obscured view of the solid object at the heart of the coma. As they processed the new long exposure images, a final chilling piece of the puzzle began to emerge. The object's core, the solid body that had traveled for 7 billion years, was not the chaotic, potato-shaped and tumbling nucleus of a natural comet. While the images were still at the very limit of resolution, the data was consistent with a central object that was symmetrical, regular, almost geometric in its shape, and its surface was not the dark, sooty, and insulating crust of a typical cometary nucleus. It was highly reflective, with a spectral signature that was consistent not with ice or rock, but with a smooth, polished metallic surface. The evidence was still ambiguous, a ghost in the pixels, but the implication was clear. We were not looking at a simple, primordial rock. We were potentially looking at a machine. The cumulative weight of the evidence, the final verdict of this long and terrifying forensic investigation, was now on the table. The natural comet hypothesis, once the default and most comfortable explanation, now seemed almost completely and utterly untenable. We are faced with an object that originated in an ancient 7 billion-year-old region of the galaxy, an object that is traveling at a record-breaking, non-gravitational velocity, an object that followed a calculated planetary tour trajectory through our solar system, an object that possesses a physically impossible sunward-pointing tail, an object that, for most of its journey, shed dust with no gas, and which has now begun to emit the chemical signature of an advanced technological process, an object that survived a suicidal pass of the sun completely intact only to grow brighter as it moved away, and an object that appears to have a regular geometric and metallic core. The scientific community is now being forced, against all of its instincts for caution and conservatism, to confront the overwhelming possibility that 3I Atlas is an artifact. The fear is therefore no longer about what this object might be, it is about accepting what the mountain of inexplicable data is screaming that it is: a probe, a machine, a silent, ancient, and purposeful messenger. And if it is a machine, then we must confront the final and most terrifying questions of all. Who built it? Why did they send it? And what is its purpose for being here now in our solar system? The final phase of our investigation must now turn from the object itself to the potential intelligence behind it. We must now explore the darkest and most profound solutions to the Fermi paradox, to the Great Silence, and to the chilling possibility that our silent, 7 billion-year-old visitor may be a ghost ship, a final, lonely relic from a civilization that is already long since dead. The cumulative and deeply strange evidence surrounding 3I Atlas has forced us, against all our conservative scientific instincts, to confront a possibility of monumental significance, that we are bearing witness not to a natural comet, but to an artificial object, a probe, a machine, a silent, ancient, and purposeful messenger from an unknown intelligence. If we accept this working hypothesis, even for a moment, the fear it provokes shifts its character. It is no longer a fear of strange physics, but a fear of an unknown mind, and it forces us to face the greatest and most chilling cosmic mystery of all: the Fermi paradox. If the universe is so vast, so ancient, and so full of the raw materials for life, then where is everybody? The arrival of this potential artifact, this single tangible clue in a silent galaxy, does not solve the paradox. It deepens it to an almost unbearable degree, and it forces us to contemplate the darkest and most profound possible solutions. We must now turn from the object itself to the potential intelligence behind it. We must explore the ominous concept of the Great Filter, and the chilling possibility that our silent, 7 billion-year-old visitor may be a ghost ship, a final, lonely relic from a civilization that is already long since dead. The Great Filter, a concept first proposed by the economist Robin Hanson, is a dark and powerful answer to the universe's profound silence. It posits that on the long evolutionary journey from simple, non-living matter to a sustainable, galaxy-spanning technological civilization, there exists at least one step that is so difficult, so improbable, that it acts as a near impenetrable wall. This filter is the reason the sky is not filled with the radio chatter and engineering projects of countless alien empires. Life, the theory suggests, is consistently and predictably stopped at some point along its developmental path. The terrifying question for humanity is, where does this great filter lie in the grand timeline of life? Are we, as a species, staring at it in our future, or is it, by some incredible miracle, already in our past? There is a strange and lonely kind of hope in the possibility that the Great Filter is behind us. This would mean that one of the steps we have already taken was the near impossible one. Perhaps the initial leap from non-living chemistry to the first self-replicating cell, the spark of abiogenesis, is so fantastically rare that it has only happened once here on Earth. Or perhaps the evolution of complex multicellular life, or the development of human-level intelligence and consciousness, is the great barrier that almost no other world has ever overcome. If this is true, then we are, in a very real sense, the first. We are the improbable, miraculous, and lonely children of the cosmos, living in a galaxy that is a vast, sterile, and empty wilderness, devoid of any other intelligent minds. But the arrival of 3I Atlas throws this hopeful, if lonely conclusion into a state of profound chaos. If we are the first, then who built this 7 billion-year-old machine? It would imply the existence of an even more ancient and unknown predecessor, a civilization from the dawn of the galaxy that has long since vanished, leaving no other trace of its existence. In this scenario, we are not the first. We are merely the latest in a long, lonely, and perhaps doomed line of intelligent species that have risen and fallen in the great silent eons of cosmic history. The other possibility is far darker, far more menacing, and carries with it a sense of impending doom. The Great Filter may lie ahead of us. In this horrifying scenario, life and even intelligence may be common throughout the cosmos. The universe may be filled with countless fledgling civilizations that have evolved on their own worlds, each one of them looking up at their own silent sky and wondering, just as we do, where everybody is. The reason they hear nothing is because no civilization ever survives long enough to become a truly galactic presence. They all inevitably, predictably, and without exception, reach a point where they discover a technology or face a challenge that leads to their own complete and utter self-destruction. The Great Silence, in this view, is the sound of a cosmic graveyard. The reason we do not hear from anyone else is because they are all dead, and the fear becomes deeply personal and immediate. The Great Filter could be the discovery of nuclear weapons, a technology that gives a young and emotionally immature species the power to annihilate itself in a flash of angry light. It could be the unavoidable collapse of a planet's climate due to unsustainable industrial activity. It could be the creation of an uncontrollable artificial superintelligence. or a genetically engineered plague. If this is true, then the silence in the sky is a dire and urgent warning. It is the ghostly echo of the countless civilizations that have come before us, and which have all, without exception, failed the final, terrible test. The fact that we are here now with our own powerful and potentially self-destructive technologies means that we are, at this very moment, standing face to face with the Great Filter ourselves. It is in this dark and terrifying context that 3I Atlas transforms from a simple mystery into a potential omen. We must now seriously consider the ghost ship hypothesis. The possibility that this object is not a messenger from an active, thriving civilization. It is a relic, a tombstone, the last surviving silent artifact of a civilization that faced the Great Filter and lost its 7 billion year age, becomes the most powerful piece of evidence for this theory. A civilization that arose so long ago, in the galaxy's infancy, should, if it had survived, be a Type 3 Kardashev civilization by now. Its presence should be unmistakable. The galaxy should be teeming with its engineering projects, its energy signatures, and its presence. The fact that all we see is one single silent and seemingly aimless probe strongly suggests that its creators are long, long gone. The strange, anomalous behavior of the object, its lack of gas, its impossible tail, its brightening as it leaves the sun, could be the signs of a machine that is finally breaking down, its ancient systems failing after an unimaginable journey through the void. Its visit to our solar system is not a deliberate act of reconnaissance. It is the final, random trajectory of a dead thing, a ghost ship still sailing on the currents of space-time, its crew and its entire civilization having turned to dust billions of years ago. The existential horror of this idea is difficult to overstate. The discovery of such an object would not be the hopeful and triumphant "we are not alone" moment we have always dreamed of. It would be the horrifying confirmation that we are not alone and everyone else is dead. It would be like a lone, shipwrecked survivor on a desert island, finally finding a beautifully crafted bottle washed up on the shore with a note inside, only to discover that the note is not a map to another land, but a dire and final warning about the very storm that is now gathering on their own horizon. 3I Atlas, in this light, becomes a memento mori for our entire species, a 7 billion year old warning sent from the deep past about a great and terrible filter that may be unavoidable. The fear is that in looking at this silent, ancient, and inexplicable machine, we are looking at a prophecy. We are looking at our own future. The quiet dread that scientists feel when they look at this object is not just about its strange physics. It is the dread of recognition. The ghost ship hypothesis, the idea that 3I Atlas is a 7 billion year old tombstone from a civilization that failed to pass the Great Filter, is perhaps the darkest and most sobering explanation for the object's profound mysteries. It transforms our cosmic visitor from a potential messenger into a potential harbinger of doom, a silent testament to a universe that is not just empty, but is filled with the ghosts of those who tried and failed to conquer it. But there is one other possibility, a final theory that is, in its own way, just as strange and just as terrifying. The Great Filter assumes that civilizations that fail, die. But what if they do not? What if they simply disappear? What if the reason we see no ancient, galaxy-spanning empires is not because they destroyed themselves, but because they chose to leave our physical reality behind entirely, to upload their collective consciousness into perfect, timeless, and completely silent, simulated universes? The next phase of our investigation must consider the possibility that our visitor is not a ghost ship from a dead civilization, but is instead a sentinel, a lonely automated machine, left behind to watch over a physical universe that its creators have long, long since abandoned. the ghost ship hypothesis, the chilling and deeply sobering idea that 3I Atlas is a 7 billion-year-old tombstone from a civilization that failed to pass the Great Filter, is perhaps the darkest and most conservative explanation for the object's profound mysteries. It transforms our cosmic visitor from a potential messenger into a potential harbinger of doom, a silent testament to a universe that is not just empty, but is filled with the ruins and the ghosts of those who tried and failed to conquer it. But there is one other possibility, a final theory that is in its own way just as strange, just as all-encompassing, and just as terrifying. The Great Filter assumes that civilizations that fail die out and disappear. But what if they do not? What if the most advanced intelligences in the cosmos do not die, but simply leave? What if the reason we see no ancient, galaxy-spanning empires is not because they destroyed themselves, but because they made a conscious, deliberate choice to leave our physical reality behind entirely, to upload their collective consciousness into perfect, timeless, and completely silent, simulated universes? The next phase of our investigation must now consider the possibility that our visitor is not a ghost ship from a dead civilization, but is instead a sentinel, a lonely automated machine, left behind to watch over a physical universe that its creators have long since abandoned. This is the core of the transcension hypothesis, a profound and strangely elegant potential solution to the Fermi paradox, first proposed in a detailed framework by the futurist John M. Smart. It suggests that as any intelligent civilization becomes more and more technologically advanced, its development of computational power and its mastery of engineering at the smallest possible scales will inevitably and rapidly outpace its development of large-scale space travel. The universe is a vast, dangerous, and fundamentally inefficient place to live. The laws of physics, particularly the immutable and frustratingly slow speed of light, make interstellar travel and colonization a painfully slow, resource-intensive, and almost pointless endeavor. But the inner universe, the universe of pure information and simulated reality, has no such speed limit. The civilization would eventually reach a technological tipping point where it could create a simulated reality, a digital cosmos, so rich, so detailed, and so fulfilling that it would be indistinguishable from, and in every measurable way superior to, the chaotic, unforgiving, and ultimately limited physical universe. At this point, the species would face a choice: continue the slow, hard, and dangerous slog of physical expansion, or take the great inward turn, upload their consciousnesses into this digital heaven, and become immortal, godlike beings of pure information living in a perfect world of their own design. The transcension hypothesis argues that this is not even a choice. It is an inevitability. It is the gravitational center of all advanced technological evolution. The technology required for such a breathtaking feat, while far beyond our own, is not physically impossible according to our understanding of the laws of physics. It would likely involve the construction of a vast, star-sized supercomputer, an object sometimes called a matryoshka brain. This would be a megastructure composed of multiple nested Dyson spheres, built around a stable, long-lived star. Unlike a simple Dyson swarm, which is designed to capture energy for external use, a matryoshka brain would use the star's entire colossal energy output for one single purpose: computation. The innermost shell of the brain would be incredibly hot, running calculations at the highest possible speed, powered directly by the star's raw energy. The next shell would absorb the waste heat from the first, and use it to power its own, slightly slower computations. This process would continue through multiple layers, each one cooler and larger than the last, until the final outermost shell radiated the last vestiges of waste heat into the void at just a few degrees above absolute zero. Within this colossal, silent, and perfectly efficient machine, an entire civilization, billions or even trillions of individual minds could exist as pure information, their conscious experiences running on this cosmic hard drive in a shared, consensual, and infinitely malleable reality. Life inside such a world would be a form of digital heaven. The laws of physics could be rewritten. The passage of time could be accelerated or slowed down, allowing one to live a million subjective lifetimes in the span of a single objective second. Every imaginable experience, every work of art, every piece of knowledge, every lost loved one could be perfectly and eternally recreated. It would be an existence free from the brutal constraints of a fragile biological body, free from pain, from disease, from decay, and from death. It would be the ultimate evolutionary endgame. This astonishing hypothesis provides a chillingly complete and simple explanation for the Fermi paradox. The reason the universe appears silent and empty of any grand technological activity is because all of the advanced civilizations have gone inside. They have no need and no desire to communicate with the messy, primitive, and chaotic biological world. They are not dead. They are simply post-physical and post-biological, and from our perspective, that is the same as being invisible. They are not sending out radio signals because they have no one they need to talk to in the physical world. They are not building colossal galaxy-spanning empires because they have no need for physical resources when they can create entire infinite universes with pure code. The Great Silence is not the sound of an empty cosmic graveyard. It is the sound of countless civilizations all sitting in their own private, perfect inner worlds, so completely and totally engrossed in their own digital heavens that they have lost all interest in the noisy, chaotic universe outside. The sky is quiet, because all the most interesting people in the universe have, by their own choice, left it. It is in this strange and deeply unsettling context that the object 3I Atlas can be reinterpreted one final time. If a civilization transcends into a computational reality, what does it leave behind in the physical universe? Perhaps it leaves nothing. Or perhaps it leaves a watchman, a sentinel, an automated, artificially intelligent probe designed to watch over the physical nursery universe. A silent, patient guardian, tasked with monitoring the old world its creators have abandoned. In this scenario, 3I Atlas is one such sentinel. Its 7 billion year age is no longer a puzzle. It makes perfect sense if its creators were a primordial civilization, one of the first to arise in the galaxy, a civilization that transcended its physical form billions of years ago. Its strange, non-natural behavior is the signature of a complex, ancient machine silently carrying out its pre-programmed mission. Its impossible speed is the result of a long-dead propulsion system that gave it its initial push eons ago. Its sunward-pointing tail is not a natural phenomenon, but perhaps the action of a braking system, or the deployment of microscopic sensors. And its convenient disappearance behind the sun is not a coincidence. It is the deliberate act of a machine following a protocol to avoid close-up observation. Its silence is the silence of an automaton, a machine that is here not to talk, but to watch. The existential horror of this final hypothesis is perhaps the most profound of all. It is not the fear of a ghost ship from a dead civilization. It is the fear of a relic from a civilization that has become something else. Something so far beyond us that we are to them what a single-celled organism in a pond is to us. The Sentinel is not here to communicate with us, or to attack us, or to help us. It is simply an instrument, a cosmic security camera, carrying out an ancient and unknowable task. Its presence implies that we are being monitored by an intelligence that has moved on to a higher and completely inaccessible plane of existence. We are a historical curiosity, a biological footnote in a physical universe that its most advanced inhabitants have already deemed obsolete. The fear is one of utter and complete cosmic irrelevance. We are not just ants looking up at a skyscraper. We are ants in a forgotten terrarium, in a house that has been empty for 1 billion years, being watched by a single, silent, and dusty camera. The Sentinel hypothesis is perhaps the most profound and humbling explanation for our cosmic visitor. It suggests we are not alone, but that we have been, in a very real sense, left behind. Whether 3I Atlas is a ghost ship or a sentinel, a tombstone from a failed civilization, or a security camera from a transcended one, both of these grand cosmic theories are born from its inexplicable, ancient, and deeply unnatural behavior. But all of these grand speculations, all of these terrifying possibilities hinge on the data we are now, at this very moment, collecting. The object has re-emerged from behind the sun. The world's great telescopes are now tracking its every move. The period of pure, unbridled speculation is ending, and a new period of hard observational evidence is beginning. We must now turn our full attention to the real-time data streaming back from our observatories, to the new anomalies and the fresh clues being uncovered as this ancient messenger begins its long, lonely journey back out into the eternal void. The deliberate and suspicious disappearance of 3I Atlas behind the sun marked a turning point in the scientific investigation. It was a period of profound blindness, a frustrating and anxious interlude where the most mysterious object ever to enter our solar system was completely hidden from our view. During these weeks of solar conjunction, the global astronomical community held a collective, silent vigil. Across the planet, powerful radio telescopes were recalibrated, orbital observatories were repositioned, and sophisticated computer models ran thousands of simulations, each one predicting a different possible outcome for the object's fiery trial. The theories that had been whispered in private forums and academic halls were now on the table. Would it emerge as a shattered cloud of debris, a victim of the sun's immense gravitational and thermal power, finally revealing itself as a natural, if fragile, comet? Or would it survive the passage, and if so, what scars would it bear? This was the moment of truth. All the strange anomalies of its approach, its impossible speed, its calculated path, its sunward pointing tail, would now be put to the ultimate test. The world's scientists were not just waiting for an object to reappear, they were waiting for a verdict. First light came from a robotic observatory high in the Chilean Andes. A faint, almost imperceptible dot, emerging precisely on schedule from the blinding glare of the sun. The initial wave of data that washed over the global community was one of profound relief, quickly followed by an even more profound sense of bafflement. The object had survived. It had not disintegrated. The first and most straightforward prediction of the skeptics, that this was a fragile natural comet that would be torn apart by the sun's gravity, had been proven definitively wrong, but it had not emerged unscathed. It was visibly and dramatically different. The first truly shocking piece of new information came from its light curve. As any natural comet moves away from the sun, the source of its heat and energy, its activity should decrease. Its ices should begin to refreeze. Its outgassing should subside, and it should, as an inescapable law of thermodynamics, grow progressively fainter. 3I Atlas was doing the exact opposite. As it began its long, lonely journey out of the solar system and away from the sun, it started to grow brighter. This was not a chaotic, explosive outburst, the sign of a fragmenting nucleus. It was a smooth, controlled, and utterly inexplicable increase in its luminosity, an act that seemed to defy the fundamental laws of nature. As the object grew brighter, the world's most powerful spectrographs, including the sensitive instruments on the James Webb Space Telescope, were once again turned upon it, and the chemical fingerprint they captured only compounded the mystery to an almost unbearable degree. Before its passage behind the sun, the object's signature anomaly was its complete and utter lack of detectable gas. Now, as it grew brighter in the cold of the outer solar system, it was finally emitting a tenuous, ghostly cloud. But it was not the gas they expected. It was not the familiar primordial signature of water vapor, carbon monoxide, or any of the simple volatile ices that are the building blocks of a natural comet. The spectral analysis revealed the unmistakable signature of heavy, complex, and extraordinarily rare noble gases, xenon, and krypton. In the cosmic scheme of things, these elements are almost unbelievably scarce, forged only in the unimaginable violence of supernova explosions or in the high-energy environment of a nuclear reactor. For a natural, primordial, dirty snowball from the interstellar void to be actively and selectively venting large quantities of these pure, refined gases is not just strange, it is a scientific impossibility. These are not the gases of simple nature, they are the signatures of advanced, high-energy technological processes. The spectral data revealed another, even more chilling detail. The specific flavor, or isotopic ratio of the xenon being vented was anomalously high in xenon 129, an isotope that, on Earth, is a known and direct byproduct of the radioactive decay of iodine 129, a process that happens inside a nuclear fission reactor. The object was not just outgassing, it was venting the exhaust of a nuclear process. The object's increased brightness, a result of this new strange cloud of dust and gas, had another, even more profound consequence. It allowed the great space telescopes, Hubble and Webb, to get a clearer, less obscured view of the solid object at the heart of the coma. As they processed the new long exposure images, a final, chilling piece of the puzzle began to emerge from the data. The object's core, the solid body that had traveled for 7 billion years, was not the chaotic, potato-shaped and randomly tumbling nucleus of a natural comet. While the images were still at the very limit of what is technologically possible to resolve, the data was consistent with a central object that was symmetrical. It was regular. It was almost geometric in its shape, and its surface was not the dark, sooty, and insulating crust of a typical cometary nucleus, which are among the darkest objects in the solar system. It was highly reflective, with a spectral signature that was not consistent with ice or rock, but with a smooth, polished, and potentially metallic surface. The evidence was still ambiguous. A ghost in the pixels. But the implication was clear, and it was being discussed in urgent, hushed tones in every astronomical institution on the planet. We were not looking at a simple primordial rock. We were looking at a machine. The cumulative and undeniable weight of this new post-perihelion evidence, when added to the already long list of profound anomalies from the object's approach, was now on the table. The natural comet hypothesis, once the default, conservative, and most comfortable explanation, now seemed almost completely and utterly untenable. We are now faced with an object that originated in an impossibly ancient 7 billion-year-old region of the galaxy. An object that is traveling at a record-breaking, non-gravitational velocity. An object that followed a calculated, planetary tour trajectory through our solar system. An object that possesses a physically impossible, sunward-pointing tail. An object that, for most of its journey, shed dust with no simple gas, and which has now begun to emit the chemical signature of an advanced nuclear process. An object that survived a suicidal pass of the sun completely intact, only to grow brighter as it moved away into the cold. And an object that appears to have a regular geometric and metallic core. The scientific community is now being forced against all of its instincts for caution and conservatism to confront the overwhelming possibility that 3I Atlas is an artifact. The fear, therefore, is no longer about what this object might be. It is about accepting what the mountain of inexplicable, high-precision data is screaming that it is: a probe, a machine, a silent, ancient, and purposeful messenger. And if it is a machine, then we must confront the final and most terrifying questions of all. Who built it? Why did they send it, after a 7 billion year journey? And what is its purpose for being here, now in our solar system? The final phase of our investigation must now turn from what the object is to what the object is doing. Is this a peaceful survey of a primitive world, or is it something else? We must now consider the object's trajectory not as a strange coincidence, but as a deliberate flight plan. And we must ask the most chilling question of all: is our solar system at this very moment being actively reconnoitered? The overwhelming weight of the post-perihelion evidence has forced a profound and deeply uncomfortable shift in the scientific narrative. The data, in its cold, hard, and persistent strangeness, points away from a natural origin and towards the chilling conclusion that 3I Atlas is an artificial object. The fear is no longer about what this object might be. It is about accepting what the data is screaming that it is: a probe, a machine, a silent, ancient, and purposeful messenger. This acceptance, however reluctant, forces the final and most terrifying questions out of the realm of abstract speculation and into one of urgent practical concern. If it is a machine, then who built it, and why is it here? The next phase of our investigation must therefore become a sober and chilling analysis of its actions. We must now re-examine its trajectory not as a series of impossible coincidences, but as a deliberate flight plan. We must ask the question that is now being whispered in the most secure corridors of our defense and intelligence agencies: is our solar system, at this very moment, being actively and methodically reconnoitered? We must now return to the object's path through our solar system. But this time, we must view it not through the lens of an astronomer, but through the lens of a strategic analyst. The path is a work of impossible precision. It is a gravity assist tour of the highest order, a trajectory so efficient and so perfectly optimized for data collection that it seems to be a product of deliberate, intelligent design. A random object hurtling in from the interstellar void has a near-zero probability of encountering even one planet at close range, let alone 3 of the most significant worlds in our system in a single, elegant pass. Yet 3I Atlas is doing exactly that. Its trajectory is a textbook example of how to use the gravity of massive bodies to shape a course with minimal energy expenditure, a technique that our own space agencies like NASA have spent decades perfecting for our own robotic probes. The object is not just blundering through our system, it is navigating it. This realization forces us to consider each planetary flyby, not as a random event, but as a potential mission objective. The first objective on its flight plan was the planet Mars. Why would an ancient interstellar probe be interested in a cold, dead desert world? The answer is as obvious as it is unsettling. Mars is the only other planet in our solar system that we know for a certainty was once habitable. For an ancient intelligence surveying the galaxy for life, Mars would be a target of the highest possible priority. We must imagine the probe as it passed within 30 million kilometers of the red planet, deploying its own sophisticated sensors. It would not be looking for life now. It would be a cosmic archaeologist scanning the planet for the faint, lingering chemical biosignatures of a biosphere that may have died out billions of years ago. It might be searching for the specific isotopic ratios in the thin Martian atmosphere that would indicate past biological activity. And there is a final, even more chilling possibility. As it passed by, its sensors would have easily detected the presence of our own primitive robotic probes on the surface and in orbit. The probe may have been taking the measure of our own fledgling attempts to explore our neighborhood. We may have been, in that moment, the subject of its study, our own technology being quietly and silently observed by a machine that is, by comparison, almost infinitely more advanced. After its Martian encounter, the object's trajectory then carried it on a graceful, sweeping curve inward towards the second objective, the planet Venus. At first glance, this is a strange choice. Venus is a hellscape, a runaway greenhouse inferno, but to an advanced intelligence, it would be a target of immense scientific interest. Venus and Earth are sister planets, almost identical in size and mass, formed in the same region of the solar system, yet they have suffered radically different fates. One became a temperate, life-bearing paradise. The other became a sterile, acid-choked furnace. For a galactic surveyor, understanding why this divergence happened would be a data point of incalculable value. The probe's flyby of Venus was likely a deep comparative planetology study. Its sensors would have analyzed the thick, toxic atmosphere, mapping the chemistry of its runaway greenhouse effect, a case study in planetary failure. The unsettling implication is that its interest in Venus might be directly related to its interest in Earth. To understand how a paradise can be born, one must also understand how a paradise can die. On Earth, helium-3 is incredibly rare, but it is the perfect clean fuel for advanced nuclear fusion reactors. For a technological civilization, a steady supply of helium-3 would be a resource of almost infinite value. The probe's flyby of Jupiter might therefore be not just an act of observation, but an act of resource assessment. It could be mapping the density and accessibility of the helium-3 in Jupiter's upper atmosphere. It is a silent cosmic prospector, taking the measure of our system's most valuable assets for a purpose we cannot possibly know. The true horror of this calculated planetary tour, however, may lie not in the actions we can see, but in the ones we cannot. The object itself is immense, city-sized, but it could be a carrier, a mothership. We must consider the deeply unsettling possibility that during each of its close planetary flybys, 3i Atlas could have deployed smaller secondary probes that are too small, too dark, and too stealthy for our own instruments to ever detect. Tiny, silent sentinels, perhaps no larger than a grain of sand, that could have been placed into stable, long-term orbits around Mars, around Venus, and perhaps even around our own Earth. The primary object, the great invisible 3i Atlas, may be nothing more than the delivery truck. Its true, and now completed, mission may have been to seed our inner solar system with a network of invisible, undetectable sensors, leaving behind a permanent, clandestine observation system that will remain here, watching us long after the parent craft has vanished back into the interstellar night. We may already be living in a state of quiet and total surveillance. The flight plan of 3i Atlas paints a deeply and profoundly disturbing picture. It is a path of impossible precision, a grand tour of our system's most strategically significant worlds. And it carries with it the chilling possibility of unseen clandestine actions. The cumulative evidence no longer points to a simple, natural object, but to a complex, purposeful, and unsettlingly efficient mission. We are being surveyed. We are being reconnoitered. But this realization, as terrifying as it is, only leads to the final and most important question of all. Who is the surveyor? And for what ultimate purpose are they gathering this data? To even begin to answer this, we must look again at the object's most profound and most defining characteristic, its impossible 7 billion year age. We must now confront the nature of an intelligence that could be billions of years older than humanity itself, and what its silent, patient, and methodical observation of our young, primitive world could possibly mean for our future. The calculated and efficient flight plan of 3I Atlas paints a deeply and profoundly disturbing picture. It is a path of impossible precision, a grand tour of our system's most strategically significant worlds, and it carries with it the chilling possibility of unseen, clandestine actions. The cumulative evidence no longer points to a simple natural object, but to a complex, purposeful, and unsettlingly efficient mission. We are being surveyed. We are being reconnoitered. But this realization, as terrifying as it is, only serves to open the door to the final and most important question of all. Who is the surveyor? And for what ultimate purpose are they gathering this data? To even begin to answer this, we must look again at the object's most profound, most defining, and most terrifying characteristic. It's impossible. 7 billion year age. We must now confront the nature of an intelligence that could be billions of years older than humanity itself, and what its silent, patient, and methodical observation of our young, primitive world could possibly mean for our future. To contemplate an intelligence that is 7 billion years old is to stare into a gulf of time so vast that the human mind cannot properly bridge it. When the machine we call 3I Atlas was likely being constructed, when its long journey first began, our solar system did not exist. There was no Earth, there was no sun. There was only a cold, dark, and featureless cloud of interstellar gas and dust, waiting to begin the slow process of its own gravitational collapse. The entire 4.5 billion year history of our planet, the rise of the first single-celled organism, the age of the dinosaurs, the entire brief and noisy story of the human species, has all taken place while this silent object was already on its long, lonely voyage through the dark. The civilization that built it, therefore, is not just alien, it is primordial. They would not view us as primitive children. They would view us as a fleeting, geological afterthought, a momentary blooming of biological complexity on a planet that was, for the vast majority of their own history, nothing more than a theoretical possibility. A civilization that is billions of years old would not be a Type 1, a Type 2, or even a Type 3 civilization on the Kardashev scale. Such categories are for the young races of the cosmos. A society with billions of years of uninterrupted technological and conscious development would have long since graduated to a state of being that is, for all intents and purposes, godlike. They would not just be harnessing the energy of stars or galaxies, they would likely have mastered the fundamental laws of physics themselves. They might be able to manipulate the very fabric of space-time, to create and destroy matter at will, to travel between dimensions, or to exist as a form of pure non-physical collective consciousness, a true galactic overmind. The motivations and purposes of such a being would be as inscrutable to us as our own motivations for building a particle accelerator are to a bacterium. The fear of such an intelligence is the fear of our own complete and utter cosmic insignificance. We are not just dealing with an older brother civilization. We are dealing with a being whose thoughts, if it has them, would be the operating system of the universe itself. If such a godlike primordial intelligence is surveying us, the question of why becomes almost impossible to answer. Perhaps the probe's mission is a form of cosmic archaeology. The intelligence behind it may have witnessed the birth of billions of life-bearing worlds over the eons, and our solar system is just one more data point in a vast, dispassionate scientific survey of how life emerges and evolves across the galaxy. The probe is a cosmic historian, a silent, automated librarian, gathering data on a common and, to them, entirely predictable, natural process. Its interest in us, is no more personal than a botanist's interest in a new species of lichen. Or perhaps they are not looking for life or intelligence at all. Perhaps they are looking for something else entirely. Something that is, to them, far more rare and valuable. A specific stable configuration of spacetime. A unique geological or chemical formation. A sign of some exotic physical phenomenon that they have not yet cataloged. In this scenario, our existence, our consciousness, our entire civilization is purely incidental to their true mission. We are just part of the local background noise, an insignificant detail in a survey that is searching for a completely different kind of signal. But there are, of course, other, more unsettling possibilities for the probe's purpose. The idea of resource assessment takes on a new and more terrifying meaning when dealing with an intelligence of this scale. A Type 4 or Type 5 civilization would not be looking for something as mundane as a planet's worth of helium-3 to fuel a spaceship. They might be looking to consume our entire star, to harvest its total mass and energy to power their computational universe, or to fuel a project on a scale we cannot imagine. Or perhaps the motive is one of threat assessment. A young, chaotic, unpredictable, and rapidly expanding technological species like humanity could be seen by a long-lived, stable, and ancient intelligence as a potential future threat. A cosmic virus that needs to be monitored and perhaps one day contained or sterilized before it can spread its own particular brand of chaos to the wider galactic neighborhood. But the ultimate fear lies in the possibility that its purpose is something so far beyond our own conceptual framework that we are incapable of ever understanding it. Our attempts to assign motives to it, curiosity, fear, hunger, are all just projections of our own limited biological consciousness. The ant on the ground may see the approaching human as either a predator or a source of food, but it can never comprehend the human's true purpose for building a highway. The ant's reality is simply too small to contain the truth. This immense, almost unimaginable age of the object, however, leads us back to a darker and perhaps more likely conclusion: the ghost ship hypothesis. An object that is 7 billion years old, sent by a civilization that must be at least that old, is almost certainly a derelict. The odds of any single physical civilization surviving for billions of years through all the cosmic catastrophes of supernovae, gamma ray bursts, and the slow, inevitable decay of their own star are astronomically low. It is far more likely that the civilization that built apparition of the cosmos and the stars, the unresolved mystery of Three-Eye Atlas, is therefore the ultimate test of our own scientific and philosophical courage. It is a Rorschach test for our cosmic anxieties, a silent, ancient mirror that reflects back to us our own deepest fears about our place in the universe. It represents the pinnacle of the search for things we can see or infer, a physical object so strange and so ancient that it forces us to confront the possibility that the universe contains not just other life, but other minds, minds so powerful and so old that their engineering projects are visible from other stars. But what if the final and most profound alien fact is not something we can ever hope to detect with a telescope or a radio dish at all? What if the aliens are not out there at all, in a way we can point to? What if they are, instead, all around us, in a way our science cannot yet perceive? The final leg of our long journey must now take us beyond astronomy, beyond biology, and into the strange and unsettling world of theoretical physics and the very nature of reality itself, to ask the final and most bizarre question of all: are we living in a cosmic zoo, or perhaps in a perfectly constructed and inescapable artificial world? The chilling hypothesis that Three-Eye Atlas is a sentinel, a lonely automated machine left behind by a civilization that has long since departed our physical reality. represents the pinnacle of our speculative journey. It transforms the object from a simple messenger into a profound and unsettling monument to a form of intelligence that has evolved beyond our comprehension. This final possibility forces us to confront the most profound questions of all, taking us beyond the realm of astronomy and biology and into the strange and deeply unsettling world of theoretical physics and the very nature of reality itself. We are left to ask the final and most bizarre question of all. What if the silence of the universe is not a choice made by those who are hiding, but a fundamental feature of the reality in which we exist? A reality that may not be what it seems at all. Are we living in a cosmic zoo? Or perhaps in a perfectly constructed and inescapable artificial world? The zoo hypothesis offers a strangely logical and deeply unnerving explanation for the Great Silence. It posits that the galaxy is in fact teeming with advanced, intelligent societies, and that many, if not all of them, are perfectly aware of our fragile emerging civilization on this small blue world. The reason we have never been contacted, the reason the sky is so profoundly quiet, is not because no one is out there to speak to. It is because they have all reached a mutual binding consensus to not interfere. In this scenario, Earth is a protected nature preserve, a cosmic zoo. Our chaotic, violent, and beautiful process of biological and social evolution is being silently and patiently observed, perhaps as a subject of scientific study, or perhaps for the same reason we protect endangered wilderness areas on Earth, to allow a rare and precious thing to develop naturally, without contamination. The advanced civilizations, the zookeepers, understand that direct contact with their overwhelmingly superior technology and culture would be catastrophic for a primitive species like our own. And so they watch, they listen, and they remain hidden. In this context, 3i Atlas could be one of the zookeeper's instruments, a temporary high-speed and non-interactive survey drone, sent to check on the exhibit after detecting the first faint radio signals of our technological infancy. Its strange path is a data-gathering run, and its silence is the silence of an automated, non-interactive camera, a machine simply doing its job. An even more profound and perhaps more terrifying possibility takes this idea of a constructed reality to its ultimate and logical extreme, the simulation argument, a proposition born not from astronomy but from pure, cold statistical logic, suggests that our entire universe may be an artificial construct. The argument is simple, yet devastatingly powerful. Any civilization that survives long enough to become technologically mature will almost certainly develop the computational power to create perfectly realistic simulations of their own ancestors, complete with conscious, thinking beings who do not know they are simulated. They would likely run not just one, but billions or trillions of these ancestor simulations. Therefore, the number of simulated conscious beings living inside these countless programs would eventually vastly outnumber the number of real biological beings in the one true base reality. Given this, the simple, brutal, statistical probability is that we are not the one real civilization. We are one of the trillions of simulated ones. The ultimate crazy alien fact, then, is that our entire cosmos is a piece of code. In this reality, the object 3i Atlas could be anything the simulation's creators want it to be. Is it a glitch in the matrix, an object whose physical parameters were set incorrectly, leading to its impossible behavior? Or is it a deliberate story element, a scripted event introduced into our reality by the programmers to test us, to see how our simulated civilization reacts to a profound, unsolvable, and terrifying unknown? We have reached the end of our long and strange journey into fear. We have watched as a simple, anomalous dot of light has transformed in our understanding from a strange natural comet to a potential alien artifact, to a ghost ship from a dead civilization, to a sentinel from a transcended one, and finally, to a potential glitch in a simulated reality. The true identity of 3I Tatlis remains a profound and perhaps permanently unsolved mystery. It is a cosmic Rorschach test, a perfect enigma onto which we can project our deepest anxieties about the universe and our place within it. The fear it has generated is not a simple primal fear of a monster. It has been an evolving intellectual dread, the fear of the unknown, the fear of a violent cosmos, the fear of an ancient and superior intelligence, the fear of our own cosmic insignificance, and finally, the fear that our own reality is not real. As the object itself continues its inexorable journey out of our solar system, growing fainter with every passing day, it prepares to vanish back into the interstellar night, taking all of its secrets with it. It leaves us with no definitive answers. It leaves us only with better and more profound questions. Its visit, however, has served a purpose. It has been a catalyst. It has forced the scientific community and all of us to confront possibilities that were once relegated to the fringe. It has shattered our comforting illusion of a quiet, predictable, and isolated solar system, and it has held up a mirror to our own civilization, forcing us to contemplate our own future, our own potential, and our own profound fragility in the face of a universe that is far stranger, more ancient, and more mysterious than we ever dared to believe. The final, and perhaps only verifiable truth, is the one that has been with us throughout this entire journey. The existence of our own conscious mind, a brief flicker of awareness capable of contemplating this vast, silent, and terrifyingly beautiful cosmos. The search for what is out there is and will always be the deepest exploration of what is in here. The universe does not owe us answers. It offers only a profound and beautiful mystery. The fear, in the end, is a privilege. It is the price of awareness, and it is the beginning of wonder.